Hello, everybody. How's it going? I don't know if you're all aware, but you're about to join us for a Women in Music panel. So if you would like to, please come up and join us a little bit closer. This is going to be a nice, intimate conversation, and we love to have some faces in front of us. To start off this conversation, we're going to have everybody introduce themselves. Alrighty, here we go.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Hello, everybody. How's everybody feeling this morning? Yeah. I go by the name of Lady Ace Boogie. I'm a hip hop artist and a community activist based in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I'm going to be actually performing later on the Hill stage at 5 o'clock. And I'm happy to be here.
I'm Darlene, also known as Darlene, yeah, and been a performing artist for just about 30 years, and extensive touring, and independent as well as with the band. I guess that's where we'll go for now.
Hi everyone, I'm Ani Siegel. I'm in the band Ani and Cora, and I'm 15 years old. I've been a musician pretty much my whole life, but Cora and I have been in a band for 2 years, and I just think Harvest is one of the best places on earth, and I'm really excited to be here.
Hi, I'm Cora. I'm a fiddle player. I've been playing for, I think, 11 years now. I'm also 15, and I've been coming to Harvest. Well, actually, I started with family camp, so I came when I was like 5, and this place is awesome, and excited to be in this panel.
Hi, my name is Kaylin Waterman. I also go by Vesper. It's my artist's name. We had a Detroit Music Showcase here last night on this very stage. It was really fun. Hope some of you were here for that. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I've lived there for a majority of my life, born and raised. And yeah, I'm excited to be at Harvest. This is my second year here.
I'm Sherry Kane, and I've been a musician all my life as well, but I've been performing for 30 years. And I started out in 1990 as a side woman to Mad Cat Ruth. And so we toured for about 25 years together. And then I now play with my husband in a duo, and I'll be over on the Hill stage at 2, and then I'll be in the barn with Laurel Primo at 3. And just real quickly, I think having a woman in music panel just shows you how far we've come. And I'm really happy to see you all here.
Hi, my name is Sarita Crowley. I'm also known as the Black Rose. I'm from the band Sarita's Black Rose. And I've been doing music for a long time. I'm not going to say how long because I probably can't remember. I'm not going to tell my age. And I just want to say I love doing what I do because music is the key to your very essence. And I like bringing people together with what I do, and I'm blessed and to be able to do what I do and bring what I do to you. We will be in the barn stage tonight at 7:15. And this year I got the whole band, so I hope y'all come out and check that out because I'd love to rock out with y'all. And Harvest is such a great thing. I don't know how many times I've been here, but it's been quite a few times. And it's probably my favorite, this one and Buttermilk. So great, love, peeing in the woods, all that good stuff, good things. All right.
Alrighty, so as I'm sure everybody has heard, we have quite a powerful group up here, and everybody comes from a different background and different amount of musicianship and how long they've been playing and styles of music. But there's a reason we're all on this stage, and it is music. So I want to ask, why are we doing a Women in Music panel? Why is that a thing at Harvest? Why is this something that is present in our lives and in this festival?
Are we supposed to answer? Okay, and then pass the mic down. Okay, so why are we in music?
Yeah, why are we hosting this panel here? Because we don't see any other like men in music panel, for instance. So why women in music?
I think it's important because we're nurturers and you are our babies. But we have a lot to give, and it's been so long since women were able to really do anything. So it's really nice to be able to get your voice heard and make loud and proud. Make sure we know what's up, no matter what kind of music, writer or artist or whatever it is that you do. You need us. You need us just to nurture you and give you some of what we got.
I think a panel of this type is important at a place like this because this is a place like this. I think in warm, welcoming, beautiful, and affirming communities, there can be kind of a danger to not discuss issues that are still present. And so that's why I think it's really important to have a platform like this to discuss issues that definitely do exist everywhere. And I think that the more we talk about it and the more we demystify the fact that there are still issues that we deal with, I think that progress can't really happen without conversations like these. So it's kind of just like making that first step, admitting that there's an issue, and then actually having a public space to talk about it.
I think also for so long, well, it's not really been that long that genders have had the opportunity to choose the life they want and the work they want with the skills they have, no matter what sex they are. And there certainly were some women pioneer musicians. We've got our Patti Smiths and our Bonnie Raitt and multiple females who have come through, but that's not without them working hard for it and not expecting it either to be given to them because they're a woman or just trailing along, the band and doing their fare. But I think one of the things we have to remember is that for anyone to succeed in what they do, the work has to be put in to develop and hone the skill and the trade to be taken seriously. And first and foremost as an artist. And then hopefully through this we'll come up with some good solutions for how do we navigate when our talent and our skills don't speak as loudly as they should for some ears. So.
I'm going to go with shine a light. It's about shining a light because I think, especially at a place like Harvest, where people are so accepting of each other and so willing to move through things together, that it's really nice to shine a light on maybe things that aren't an even playing field, because that's our hope, is that then we can make it a better playing field, because everybody wins if it's a better playing field.
Right. So when we shine that light, I want to ask and shine lights on your own experience. Being a woman in music, how has that shaped your past experiences? How has that gotten you to where you are? And what are the positive and negatives of exactly the steps you've gone through and the differences you've had to overcome and the spot you're in currently?
So I haven't been a musician for very long compared to the rest of you, but I have experienced some sexism in the industry. I'm in high school, so often when I tell some of my male peers that I'm in a band, they're like, no, it's just sometimes hard to be taken seriously. And, but I definitely haven't experienced as much. And I'm interested to see if in this next generation of musicians, if we're going to be treated equally, and if I think it's going to change a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for us, being 15, a lot of, definitely not all, but a lot of what we've felt playing on stage or dealing with, talking with other people in the industry who are setting up our gigs and things like that, a lot of it is our age too. I mean, we're young, and we're taken less seriously because we don't know a lot of things, so it's kind of it's a little bit of a double blow in some cases. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because there is a lot of sexism in the music business, in local bands or national, but just whoever you are, it all goes on for everybody. So no one person's more than the other. Being in a band with all males, and I've done that for a long time, and so you go through so much stuff that you finally take it by the rings, and show them. So instead of talking about it or singing about it, demand it, shout it out. So when I sing, I make sure I'm heard, because a lot of guys would like to try to take over stuff, and that's stuff that I've faced with working with a lot of males. They try to they act like they're into you and listening to you, but they're not. Then they do things their way. But in my band, I do things my way. That's why it's called Sarita's Black Rose. That's right.
I really love being a woman. I think that that's like the thing that has shaped, when you talk about shaping, has shaped me the most. And when I step into a room and I can sense that there's going to be a struggle, and I can sense that there's going to be an issue and there's going to be a lack of respect, that's kind of one of the leading thoughts in my head. I love being this. Even if if they wouldn't let me play it unless I was a man, I would still love being a woman too much. I love it. And so I think that's something that has really pushed me to continue. And sometimes that does mean deciding before you even get to the gig what your standards are going to be, and deciding before you even, in some ways, before you get to rehearsal, how you're going to act and how you're going to, run the rehearsal and, treat everyone in the band. I've also worked with all male ensembles before. I'm sure we all have. It just, there's not that many of us, so you end up doing that a lot. So I think that's something that has been really great for me, just having that conversation with myself. I love being a woman, and so any fight is worth continuing to be who I am.
Just 2 points and one bouncing off that one. When we talk about rehearsing and things like that, the one difference between men and women in my experience is that as we're the sensitive, nurturing, caretaking type, we're in rehearsal with a bunch of guys and there's something we want to change. There's a tendency for a woman to say, I'm really sorry, but this part here, could we maybe try? Whereas the guys in the band would be like, yo, don't do that. Let's do this instead. Let's try this. Let's just try it. Don't worry about it. Let's just try it. And taking that soft, emotional female part, we kind of have to sort of put it aside a little bit just to be straightforward, because it's a different form of communication, right? Guys wouldn't be apologizing for wanting to try something. They'd just do it and then they would get over it, right? But you're so right. There was a situation recently where a dear friend of mine in the music business was being honored. And so all kinds of artists were being asked to do a song or something. And there would be a backing band. So I came up with a little mishmash of 3 different bluesy tunes that we're going to mash together and change here and change there. And I wrote them out, and I wrote out the arrangement, and I showed up, an hour early to meet up with the band and, be able to just have 5 minutes to talk it through. And little by little, they all showed up. And an hour and a half later, they were all gone. And I had talked to them separately, but they had all gone downstairs to discuss my song and didn't invite me. And I'm looking around, and I'm the first act, and I'm looking around, and I'm going, where the hell is everybody? And so I asked the bartender, they're like, oh yeah, they're all downstairs. And I ran down, and there they are with my piece of paper discussing what's going to happen. And it's like, what happened? What happened? And so I don't really quite understand that in that sense, but those are the sorts of things that we often,
Yeah. I think one of the, struggles you can say, I think in general with women in hip hop specifically, is that there's this perception that there can only be one. If you look at it on a national scale right now with Nicki Minaj and Cardi B, it's like society and the industry makes them go against each other. And personalities clash. People don't have to get along. But I think that, even just in history of hip-hop, you never hear about multiple female artists at the same time. It's like there can only be one. And that perception has trickle down even from a local level. It's like they're always trying to put you against each other. So that's one of the things that I'm really trying to bring more light to, because I don't think we talk about it enough. And I think it's really a matter of changing the society's minds. You know what I'm saying? And the concept that they think that that we have to be against each other, and it's crazy. It's so weird, and that's one of my struggles. Like, it's always, again, even at a local level, always been compared to artists who we don't even sound the same. We don't even make the same type of music, and it's frustrating. But I'm here for it. I'm here for the conversation, and I'm here to bring awareness to it. Okay.
I'm loving hearing everything. It's so great. I think that when I think of being a woman in the industry, one thing that I want to also mention, besides sort of being a witness to change, because 30 years ago, it was hard, and it was really hard, and it was different than it is now, and I'm grateful to everybody that has made a step, male, female, and any other possibilities that has made a step in that direction. But the one thing that I felt really affected me personally, and I also think this has changed, and I'm glad about that too, but I was a single mother when I started, of a baby. And there were so many times that I couldn't participate fully in whatever was happening at a festival because I had a baby. And I either had to arrange 7 ways to Sunday for where that baby was going to be, or I had to get back home. And so I had to miss a lot of jams. And I think motherhood has changed into parenthood, and I really think more people are equally sharing raising their children. But in my day, that wasn't true. And I think that's been a big thing that affected me as a woman in music, was being a mother.
One experience I've had is Cora and I are often compared to the Accidentals. We really love them. They make amazing music. But I think the reason we're compared to them so much is because they are 2 girls who are in a band together, and we are also 2 girls who are in a band together. And if you think about, like, there are so many bands of, like, 3 guys, but they're not being told, oh, you're copying this other band. But I think it's because we're 2 girls and we're playing music, we're going to be compared to this other band that's exactly the same. And that often makes me a little bit angry, because I'm like, I'm not copying them. It's my music and it's my world, and it's just upsets me sometimes. Yeah.
So, as women, when we're wearing our coats, our women coats, and we're like, here we are, we're stepping into a gig, we're going out the door, we're bringing our gear in, and we're feeling these things of, oh, this stereotype might be an expectation, oh, I might be talked down to, the sound guy might not give me respect, or sound woman, it can go both ways. What are some ways that we can take progressive steps towards opening up the acceptance of women and kind of taking those microaggressions, taking those stereotypes, and not being aggressive back to them, but just saying, hey, here's who we are. Hey, we're our own musicians. Hey, I'm a mother. What are some ways that we can do that?
Some ways that we can, well, one way that we can do it is what we're doing right now. We're creating music, and we're creating it together, and we're actually having something to say. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but when I hear music nowadays, it isn't music. That's to me, because I'm old school. I like when people actually had something to say, and that's how you do it. You gotta open your mouth, and by us being in bands and saying, yeah, we're not compared to anybody. I'm me, So I do covers, sometimes, but I also do originals. But when I do covers, I take it and I make it mine, and I'm paying homage to that person and thanking them profusely for what they've given us. And if I can do that and make one person escape from all the things that's going on in the world today and bring you back and a feel-good smile or give me a hug, my goal has been met. So I often post that on the old social media, and I know a lot of people don't know what that means, but it means when I do a show, whether it's a acoustic duo or full band, I always get somebody that comes up to me and say, man, I can't believe you did that song. I haven't heard it, and that took me back, and it took them away from things. And they were forced to listen and accept things. So the best way to do that, ladies, is what we're doing. Music. Be heard. Don't be, can I want you to do, talk, sing, and I think that's a good way to do that. So by doing that, you're creating this bind, which brings people together, and it forces them to see and to think and say, well, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. Music is the key, right?
I think when we walk into an arena that is where we're going to do what we do, I said this once before, I won't say it again, having your act together, having your details together, having it written out if you have to, but coming into a space and saying, for this next moment, we're going to collaborate. I'm driving, we're working together, here we go. I mean, you don't have to spell it out, but is there something in the confidence of a person who knows where they want to go, to just go there? And when we don't second guess ourselves, and we come with our act together and everything we need to put it down, for me, that's when I find I'm taken most seriously.
I'd have to say, I think a lot of what you guys said, but in summary, it's very clear communication and being consistent in who you are as an artist. But I also think the most important thing is for people, you mentioned sound engineers, and just people in general who are not women need to change how they feel and how they treat, because at the end of the day, we are who we are, and we shouldn't have to change that based on someone else's perception. So it's up to those people to change their hearts and their minds and treat us just like they would treat anybody else.
So I'm taking off. So this has been a really good, enlightening experience, and I'm so glad I got to sit up here with all you talented, beautiful ladies, making your voices be heard. Make sure you're checking out Sarita's Black Rose tonight on the Barn stage, 7:15. So, but I've got to go help out some more folks. I really enjoyed myself being here with you guys for the little time that I had to spend with you. Hopefully I'll see you again.
Thank you, Sarita. We really loved having you.
I'm going to mix it up a little bit by disagreeing just a tiny bit, if that's okay. Absolutely, we should have our act together when we get there, but can I tell you how many times I've shown up and the other bands who are all male are drunk or high or late and are still shown more respect. So I think we definitely, it's professional to have your act together, and we all should. But I think it goes even beyond everything, because I tried that route too, and just making sure I had everything together, making sure everything was perfect. And I think that is one of the steps. But I don't think that it's all. I mean, it definitely isn't the only path to being treated equally, because, it's still not going to be enough for a lot of people. And so there are a few things I think that I've also tried to do. And I also want to say too, we've talked a lot about being nurturing and sensitive. And that's true, but I was raised by a man and a woman who are both cis, but the gender norms were a little switched, and my dad was very much more the sensitive and nurturing type, and my mom was kind of the I don't know, I don't respect anyone else in the world, but she's a fiery woman, she really is, and very strong, and she passed that on to me. And so I think I have both of those things. I am sensitive and nurturing, but I'm also, I feel very strong in a lot of ways and very outspoken in a lot of ways. And I think a lot of my, sisterin and, friends and women who are part of the LGBTQ community experience that too, where they don't necessarily feel like this, soft, sensitive type, or maybe they do, but I think that a place needs to be made for that. So I'll be very quick, but some of the other steps that I've learned. Number one, if you are in an all-male ensemble, surround yourself with affirming males, truly affirming males who are going to not only just allow you to talk, but to speak up for you and say, no, that's not going to fly here. I'm actually not going to answer that question. She's going to answer that question. That's what I mean. Not just like, allowing you to do your thing, but to actually say, no, I'm not going to answer this question. She's in charge of this band, and I'm going to let her have this conversation with you. And number two is a little sneakier. When I walk into a venue and I notice that everybody's grumpy and they're all men, I just pick the grumpiest one, and I'm like, we're going to be friends by the end of the night. I'm not kidding. And I always win. Always. I don't care if I have to bring you food or buy you a drink or give you a hug or ask you about your week, because sometimes their week's been awful. And sometimes most of the time it is also a form of sexism, but sometimes they're just having a terrible day and decide to take it out on the woman that's there because it's easier. Like, we are easier to pick on. I know I am, because my fire can be lit in a second, so that's true. But yeah, I think that's something too, just like establishing that relationship, because oftentimes like they've had to subscribe to gender norms their entire life, and they've never come across someone who's affronted that, ever. And so I think it is frustrating having to be the one, but I don't mind being the one, so that you ladies don't have to kind of experience that, because we've talked about that backstage where there's like a 30 or 40-year difference and then maybe a 10-year difference. And even in just this 10-year difference, Ani and Cora were able to share that they haven't experienced quite as much as they've heard about, which I think is amazing, and which means that we just need to continue doing what we're doing. So.
Yeah, I play in a bluegrass band as well as our band. And the bluegrass band is 6 guys all over 50. And I'm by far the youngest one and the only female. And I've been really, really lucky. They've basically become like my adopted grandfathers. They've been super nice. But the one thing that I've really appreciated is that they've asked me what I think, what I want to change about this song, what songs I want to play, what I can add to the conversation. They've done more than just let me play with them. They've also let me have a voice in the band.
That makes me so happy. It makes me so happy. I wish that I could tell you that I have a trick, and I don't. I don't know how to better a bad interaction. And I've tried for a long time, but I don't know how. But the one thing that I've held close to my heart and has really worked for me is to not forget why I'm there. Like, I came to open my front door and my back door and let music, in my case blues, go through me and reach people. And over the decades for me, what I've done is I've just made sure that when I hit the stage, all the garbage doesn't come with me, so that at least at the end of that day, that interaction didn't stop me from what I wanted to do.
Wow. So something I would really like to touch on for all of us as a whole is exactly what you guys have been talking about. But there is this expectation that I think we all need to be aware of, that women feel and women have, and it's exactly what you guys were saying and what you said, of we step onto a stage and we feel that we need to have done extra work to be there and to be heard, whereas it should just be equal, but it's not. So that is why, once again, wrapping all the way back to the beginning of this conversation, why we're here is to find that equality and to raise awareness that women, and we're obviously talking about men right now in terms of the people we're working with at venues, other musicians, like, we are equal to you and they need to be accepting. And we are in 2018 and it's awesome that things are changing for you guys, because even in our small difference, like, I've had different experiences where it's been tough, and it doesn't have to be tough, and we are taking progressive steps. But yeah, does anyone have a question that they would like to be asked? Yeah, would anyone in the crowd like to ask a question? If so, just come on up. We'd love to have some outside perspective.
One we haven't quite stepped on yet, but how to deal with sexual harassment in the field. And, you know, I'm trying to figure out which angle to come with this one on. You know, I had an old friend, a blues friend, who was in the business for a long time, and he was in his 80s when I was hanging out with him. And even though he was my friend, and I mean, I stayed in his home with his nephew and his relatives, and you know, we were friends, it didn't stop him from saying, "Hey, what do you think, you and me go in the back room there?" And seriously, I didn't take it seriously because there was such an age difference. It was like, that seems crazy. So I would just laugh and be like, "You're so funny." You know, I would just make a joke of it. And I realized afterward, wait a minute, he was serious about that. But one of the things I've done my whole time in male company that might suggest that, rather than letting myself be offended by it, I just laugh at it. Like, I don't laugh at them, but you know, trying to just sway it a different direction. Like, oh, I didn't really take them seriously, and I didn't really understand what they were saying. Like, even if it's just kind of just to be like, I'm just going to put this aside because there's no point in really putting energy into it, you know. Yeah, I think I just find humor being one of the best ways for me, not to be holding an insult by somebody that might be, you know, trying to dominate me in that sense.
This is back to the question of what I'd like to be asked, and I can tell you what my favorite thing to be asked is. Do you have a guitar pick? Do you have a high E string? I love it when guys come up to me and just treat me like a guitar player, that of course I have a pick. That's my favorite. It's happened, you know, to me over the years, and it's kind of like a quilt that you put around you every time somebody just assumes you're a guitar player, and that's the first thing they think. I need a pick. Do you have a pick? So that's one thing I'd love to be asked.
No one's ever asked me that before. No, I've never been asked that before. So I think mine would be, what do you need? Like, just what do you need in general, which could mean anything. But I love walking into a venue and someone says, like, what is it that you need? Because when I first started, I think I've been playing music out for about 10 years. When I first started, it's so funny. I don't know if this is a male thing. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. They would legitimately, like clockwork, go towards the tallest man in our group. The tallest one. Why do you guys love height so much? They would go straight to the drummer and say, like, okay, well, you know, what's this? And what's the, you know, we got the stage plot. I have a question about this, and go on. And like, I'm looking at him like cracking up because I know he doesn't have the answers. I know that I have the answers. So, and they just, you know, they always assume that women are the vocalist. And sometimes I wish I wasn't, because I want to be like, no, I'm playing bass. I don't need a vocal mic. I need this. But saying it doesn't help. But just asking what I need, because I can't tell you how many times like someone's come in and just set up a vocal mic for me and then walked away. You know, just assuming I'm not even going to play keys or anything, you know, or tambourine. So I think just asking it what it is that I need will not only start the conversation, but just give me the respect that we all deserve.
Back to what you were saying about the sexual harassment. Before I go out for a gig, or really anything, if I go out by myself or just to play music, my parents always warn me about things, right? This is what you can do and this is what you can't do. And I'm really lucky. I've never been sexually harassed, but it is something that I am afraid of. And I really hope that in the future, if I ever have a daughter, if she plays music or she doesn't, I don't want to have to warn her about that. It would be so great if we could just stop that. And I know maybe we can't, but we could at least try.
Wow. We have just a few minutes left. So with this time, I kind of want to wrap all of those beautiful, beautiful sentences and statements and ideas, and just ask a favor of everybody that's here, everybody that's been engaged with this and listening. Just raise awareness. Call people out if you see something happen. Women, help stand up for each other. Men, call out fellow men who are saying things to women that they should not. Let's let's take sexual harassment away as best that we can. Let's ask women for guitar picks and strings. Let's love our vocalists and our bass players and our drummers and everybody of all heights. Let's pull this love in. This is what Harvest is love. And this is why we're having this conversation. And I wish we had more than 45 minutes for it, but we don't. So let's continue this conversation within each other, with outside of this. Every time you go to a venue, look out for your ladies. Let's make a change. With that, does anyone in the crowd, I'd love to have some other questions in the last few minutes. You want to come up? Or shout? Yeah, come up and shout. Yeah.
Okay. In your mind's eye, what's the one recognition that you would love to have bestowed upon you? The one award you could win, the one stage you'd want to play on, the one person you'd want to have say, that was great.
All right, so yeah, the question. Okay, we gotta be pretty quick with this one, but what is the recognition you would like to have, or your dream?
Gosh, I don't know what stage, because I just think depending on where you're at, any stage is like super magical. But someone I look up to a lot is Solange Knowles. And the reason why I love her so much is because, she has decided, not to live in the shadow of her sister and just do something totally different and totally beautiful and avant-garde, and just continues to develop that. And I just it's so interesting. And yes, obviously she's very privileged, and being Beyonce's sister has its benefits, but I'm just so curious how someone like that could choose a path that's so different and still do something so distinctly different, and be a mother and a wife and have this incredible career, and just not stop herself based on experience. She's like, I'm going to be a filmmaker now, and I'm going to make printed work, and I'm going to write poetry, and I'm going to design clothing, and just those are all things that I just want to do, and helps me not be super limited. So I look up to her a lot.
I think for me, it's not really a stage or an award. I think I just like to get to a point, just period, where I can be considered a dope artist and not a dope female artist.
I think that is, unless Darlene, you have something else.
I want to be known as someone who made people want to sing with their voices, and knowing that we all have a voice, and singing is not just a professional thing. It's something we all do because it's joyful and healing.
All right. I think we're gonna wrap with that, because I don't have any words that can follow that. So thank you everybody for joining us today. Yeah, everybody on this stage is full of power, and everybody in this audience is full of power. So let's spread that. Thank you.